Hello, BookTube. We are back to the Eternal Library Tour, and we have reached shelf number 3. Except we haven't. We are dealing with shelf number 3, subsection A, because we can't get to shelf number 3 because of all the books that have grown up all around shelf number 3. So we'll do those, and maybe someday we will get to shelf number 3. Wouldn't that be nice? Why did I start this? Why? Anyway. Okay, so the first thing we'll do here is a duplicate. This is the Golden Guide to Birds. This is an absolutely lovely little thing that I have lived with my entire life. It has full-color original artwork with the birds in situ, so you get a little bit of what their environment might look. Oh my god, there are my sparrows. Just add the crap coming out that end and you're all set. The birds in something like their natural environment, a little bit of their distribution. Of course, you can see sparrows are all over the place. And the beginning is a little bit about bird evolution. These little golden guides are fantastic, which is why I have another one on bats. Of course, I have the one on bats. I never see these things in the wild anymore. I never see them in used bookstores anymore. So I'm glad I have the few that I have. I have birds, bats, animals, the Everglades, a few other things. Of course, not in the same place. That would make too much sense. Then I have the little Peterson guide to birds. Again, this is much the same thing as this Golden Guide in that you could, if you wanted to, take it out in the field with you. You could stuff it in a pocket. This is far more identification and practical based than the Golden Guide book is. Okay, then a battered little paperback of Profiles in Courage by John F. Kennedy. A selection of mini biographies of individual people that he found admirable in history. Source of quite a brush fire of subsequent brush fire in his own life as to whether or not he wrote it. What is next here? Oh, okay, all right. Now we have 3. These were made by Penguin. These are letters of note. Cute little paperbacks with deckled edges and French flaps that center down on certain things, on certain little subjects. It's actually quite a nice series. These are the only 3 that I have. I wish I had more. This is Letters of Note, New York City. And this is what you get here. You have the deckled edges and the French flaps. And this is just a collection of stuff about little pieces about New York City. Then we have one about grief, Letters of Note on grief. Usually I have found that the stuff that's in these little volumes is quite good. And finally, Letters of Note about dogs, of course, which I had to have. So I have New York City, grief, and dogs, but I don't have anything else. I don't have any of the others. Okay, this is a finished copy of something that we saw as... we saw the whole lifespan of this thing. I'm pretty sure we saw the advanced copy, and then the finished copy, and then the paperback. This is 2016. Oh no, I guess this was a paperback original. This is by Kenneth Goldsmith, and it is called Wasting Time on the Internet. We have a cat, of course, and also the waiting wheel of waiting superimposed on the cat. Kind of a nice minimalist cat cover design. I liked this book. I thought it had some pretty agile thinking about the internet in our lives. Of course, I had one major problem with it. You're going to be able to see it coming a mile away, which is that the problem I have with a lot of these books, which is that they ascribe as faults to the internet faults that are actually the faults of users of the internet who are simply not controlling themselves and are expecting, they're expecting someone else to do the self-control for them. It's not how self-control works. It's right there in the name. You control yourself. You don't sit around saying, well, I'm going to do the worst possible thing. I'm going to play this video game until 4 in the morning, vaping nonstop the whole time. I'm going to pass out on the floor in a pile of Doritos crumbs with my lungs and throat burning, my head whizzing. I'm going to do that knowing that I have to go to work at 7:30 the next morning. So in 3.5 hours. I'm going to do that knowing that because no one has controlled me. There's a lot of that in this book, a lot more than I wanted to see. Okay, then we have Beyond the Farthest Star by Edgar Rice Burroughs. From Edgar Rice Burroughs Incorporated, from the literary arm of the Edgar Rice Burroughs literary estate, the crappy literary arm of the Edgar Rice Burroughs estate that views these things as gated communities. The works of the master are gated communities. So we'll make rather poorly made custom hardcovers with new illustrations by a really good artist. But will they be in bookstores? No. No. Oh no. Not the work of the master. No. We'll do that for Tarzan. We'll do that for John Carter or Carson of Venus. We'll do that for all the other books. We'll make special editions, but they'll be very special. Come through our portal. Come to our website, or maybe come to Tarzana and there might be a showcase room. But otherwise, no. The exact opposite of the ethos of Edgar Rice Burroughs. But nice if you're in with them. Like, for instance, Michael K. Vaughan is in with Edgar Rice Burroughs Incorporated. They sent him a care package, and I was watching his video of a care package with a bunch of great-looking stuff that they sent him. And feeling a bit envious, of course. I was feeling a bit envious. And no more than 2 days later, I found this at the Brattle. I think it was at the Brattle. A so-called restored edition of Edgar Rice Burroughs novel, but made by Edgar Rice Burroughs Incorporated. So you get the original illustrations, you get tons and tons of ancillary material that they put in the back. They give you your money's worth for the volumes that they make. It's just, can we find an example? Yes. This is Edgar Rice Burroughs. You make a mass market paperback, you give it a terrific lurid cover, and you put it in bookstores. You don't do this. You don't do subscription only boutique stuff, but apparently they do. This is well, it's not a good novel. And then again, Edgar Rice Burroughs almost never wrote those. But I was fascinated to learn the story of what is meant by the restored edition. It turns out that's quite a lot. The little mass market paperback, I don't think I can grab it from here. I would be just too lucky. No, I can't grab it from here. But the little mass market paperback of this that I read 70 years ago isn't the book that Edgar Rice Burroughs wrote. I had no idea that was true. If that was in Richard Lupoff's book about Edgar Rice Burroughs, or the 2-volume life of Edgar Rice Burroughs that I have, if that was in any of the Edgar Rice Burroughs stuff that I've read about him, I missed it. Because I had no idea. That alone was fascinating. Okay, then we have a trade paperback edition of Country Editor by Henry Beadle Hough, which is, as you can see from the masthead there, this is about his time as the editor of the Martha's Vineyard Gazette, an old broadsheet newspaper on the island of Martha's Vineyard that he was synonymous with for a long time. He hugely increased its circulation and also its character. He established its character as just a terrific reading experience. Yes, it's a local newspaper. It will deal with vineyard stuff only, but it won't feel that way. It won't read that way. You will be able to read it from front to back when you're on vacation at the vineyard and not feel like you're reading, local zoning ordinances. Plus beautiful artwork. And this is his stories, his favorite stories of all the different adventures that he had in that role. Back at a time when country editor was not a twee euphemism. During the time when he was writing this book and compiling these stories, the vineyard really was next to the Back of Beyond. The Back of Beyond was Nantucket, but the vineyard was not as easy to get to. It certainly was not as easy to winter there. So it really did feel like more of a country outpost. The stories in here are absolutely wonderful, and I say that despite the accusations that could be raised of bias, since I write for the Vineyard Gazette, and it's a joy to write for the Vineyard Gazette, an absolute joy. I write book reviews for the Vineyard Gazette. Okay, all right. Then we move on to bats, to the second most popular mammal species on Earth. We have Merwin Tuttle, of course. Merwin Tuttle and M. Brock Fenton are the two gods of bat studies, Microchiroptera, in the 20th century. So I have his book, America's Neighborhood Bats, just a thin little thing. Not really a go-out and guide book, but more an examination of how bats live with us in urban centers, because bats do. They love to do that. They live in urban centers very successfully, more so than any other kind of animal, any other kind of mammal. In fact, as many, many people have pointed out, if you look at the statistics, bats are far, far better residents of cities than humans are. Far, far better. In terms of child rearing and healthy societies and an almost total lack of murder. But then we have M. Brock Fenton. This is Just Bats. Another thin book. This is older, so it'll have illustrations, but all of the photos will be black and white. Just taking you through the basics of bat behavior, the bat ecosystem for a microcaptor, for the little echolocating bats. And then we have a book by Lawrence Pringle with photographs by Merlin Tuttle, and this is Batman, Exploring the World of Bats, which is an ex-library copy here that has color photos all throughout of what bats look like, certain species of bats. So a little blast of bats for your day. I have a whole shelf. We looked at shelf number 2 yesterday. I have a whole shelf of bat books, but they are not together. So maybe this will fix that. Maybe this will fix that. Okay. So to finish off the rest of subsection A is to deal with science fiction and fantasy. So here at the 11:30 mark, if you're not interested in science fiction and fantasy and you're only watching these videos for what you are already interested in and aren't interested in being in anything that you're not interested in, you're not interested in being in anything that doesn't already interest you, A, I'm not sure why you'd watch this channel, but B, you can stop now because all the rest of this is going to be science fiction and fantasy. There's just a stack of it here. And it's all going to be familiar from relatively recent videos. For instance, these things, these hardcover best of series from Ballantine. Nelson Doubleday, this thing says, Ballantine took up the paperbacks, which we're going to be getting to because there's a million. I have a million of these things. This is the best of Frederick Brown. I got it mainly for this insanely great cover. But I did read one story and it was not blown away. Not sure that how much Frederick Brown I've read in anthologies. I don't think I've ever read a book. Then the best of C.L. Moore with me and Deb on the cover there. I couldn't pass this up. These hardcovers, they have nothing on the back. They're just the hardcovers of these things. The Brattle Bookshop, where I do a lot of my book buying, recently got a big concentration of these things. So I was looking at them and thinking, okay, do you want this? Do you actually want this in hardcover? Like, for instance, they had the hardcover best of El Sprague de Camp with a terrific cover illustration of a hunter standing, rifle in hand over the body of a dinosaur. And I had that in my hand, but the mass market paperback that we're going to be getting to of the best of El Sprague de Camp, it's the same book. It's just reprinted in paperback, and they didn't reprint any of these covers. These covers did not make the migration to the paperbacks. So when you find them, they're different. And the cover for the paperback of El Sprague de Camp is fantastic. It's a fantastic cover. All I would be getting if I got the hardcover would be just a different cover. I don't like El Sprague de Camp enough for that. And then also Edmund Hamilton, here with this gigantic bat/cat creature there on the cover. Fell in love with Edmund Hamilton, as we're going to see, for Captain Future. So then we have the novelization of Star Trek IV, The Voyage Home, also in a kind of a book club edition because there's nothing on it at all. So this would have been sent out to people who asked for it. This, you'll notice, the last shelf had this one. So these belong together. They don't belong apart from each other. They belong together. Naturally, I reread the whole of this the day that I got it. I shouldn't have, because I've read it before and I've seen the movie a million times. But I really like the job that Vonda McIntyre does on this. It's really sad. It's a satisfying novel, whether you've seen the movie or not, which is amazing. That's a high bar to cross when it comes to novelizations. And then we have the hardcover of Gollum Race to the 100th Power by Alfred Bester. I got this as a mass market paperback. I love the Rowena cover, so I got the mass market paperback when I saw it, and then I saw the hardcover. The mass market paperback has the same cover art, but it's not nearly as durable. So, and I'm rather fond of these later Bester novels, Gollum Race to the 100th Power, and also The Deceivers, which I'm just hoping I will find again. I've had many copies of both. Okay, then we have Flashing Swords by Lynn Carter. So we have Flashing Swords #1. These are anthologies of fantasy literature. They're really, really good. They also are really, really different in that they don't try to cram in the world and everything in it. You sometimes get 4 or 5 stories. I've got Flashing Swords #2. Another terrific cover there. And Flashing Swords #4. Not a terrific cover. And somewhere I have all the others. I have there's 2 missing here. I have them. They're just not with these. I seem to recall one of you telling me that Flashing Swords did not continue past #5. Is that right? Did I remember that correctly or not? But I love them, and I do the key metric for whether or not an anthology is worth keeping, especially worth keeping in hardcover, is if you go back to it. Do you go back to it? Once you've read the stories, in other words, once you know what's in it, do you still go back to it? And I do. with Flashing Swords, I do. And that is also true of... here, I'm organizing while I talk. That is also true of those best of volumes by Valentine. I go back to those as well. Not because I don't know what's in them, not because I don't remember the stories, but because there's also an art to making an anthology. There's an art to assembling things so that they feed off each other and talk to each other. And that art is very much present in those books. So there you go. That is shelf #3, subsection A. And we managed to do all of subsection A. So tomorrow, or the next time, whenever I do this, we will do shelf #3. And then we'll be done, and then what faces us is, good, help us, a snow-capped Everest of a bookcase of double and triple stack mass market paperbacks. God only knows how long it will take to get through that next bookcase. But the next one will be easy. The next video will be easy. So I'll wrap this up for now, and I will see you then. Thank you, BookTube.